It is said that once upon a time, a woman lived alone in a small cottage in the forest, feeling sad because she was all alone. One day, she went outside to water her flowers, tears falling from her eyes. A witch wandering through the forest saw her from afar. The witch approached and asked,
"Why do I see you crying, dear? What makes you so sad?"
The woman replied,
I wish I had a little girl to raise and care for. I live alone in this cottage with no one to keep me company.
The witch said,
"All right, take these magical seeds, plant them, care for them, water them every day, and wait to see what happens."
The woman took the seeds and did as the witch instructed. She watered them every day until one grew into a beautiful flower. The woman said,
"What a beautiful flower."
and she kissed it. Suddenly, the flower blossomed, revealing a tiny, beautiful girl inside. The woman was astonished by what she saw, but overjoyed with the girl, and decided to care for her, naming her Thumbelina. Days passed, and Thumbelina lived happily with the woman in her cottage. But one night, while they were asleep, a large frog entered through the window in search of food and saw Thumbelina. The frog decided to take Thumbelina with her to the swamp. The frog carried the sleeping Thumbelina all the way to the swamp and placed her on a large leaf floating on the water's surface. The next morning, Thumbelina woke up, realizing she was in an unfamiliar place. She felt scared and started to cry, but the frog was not there. Hearing Thumbelina's crying, the little fish took pity on her and decided to help. They began pushing the leaf until she reached the shore. Thumbelina thanked the little fish and quickly ran away from the swamp. Halfway through, she sat down to rest and noticed an injured bird lying on the ground. Thumbelina approached him, seeing his wounded foot, and felt sorrow for the bird. She decided to help, wrapping his injured foot with some leaves. The bird thanked Thumbelina and invited her to stay in his nest until his foot healed, and Thumbelina agreed. A few days later, when the bird's foot had healed, he said to her,
"Now, Thumbelina, how can I repay your kindness?"
Thumbelina replied,
I want to return to the cottage where I lived.
The bird said,
"All right, climb onto my back."
Thumbelina happily flew in the air on the bird's back. As they passed over cottages, the bird paused at each window so that Thumbelina could look inside, searching for her home, until at last they reached the woman's cottage. The bird set Thumbelina down at the cottage door, and they thanked each other before he returned to his nest. Thumbelina knocked on the door, and the woman, who was crying, opened it. When she saw Thumbelina, she hugged her tightly and said,
"Oh, my beautiful daughter Thumbelina, you've returned to me."
And so, Thumbelina and the kind woman lived happily ever after.